Hi guys, so welcome to another episode of Introduction to Python. And in this episode, we are going to be talking about Python's Boolean operations. And as we go, we would also connect that to Python's conditional statements. So the first question to ask is, what is a Boolean operation? Right? A Boolean operation. Now, the best thing to do is to put it in context. Oftentimes, you want to ask questions and you want to confirm if the question is a yes or a no, right? And for that to happen, questions have to be asked. And for Python, the Python interpreter, the Python engine, to confirm if something is a yes or a no, the Python interpreter would use a true or false statement. Right. Now, these true or false statements are known as values. They are known as Boolean values. So that's a double O, are known as Boolean values. Now, the Python's Boolean operations are all the activities, or just about all activities that result in a truth or false scenario. And to get that going, Python maps truth and false. But here we're going to call them true and false. So Python maps this. And to do that, it does this through a Boolean operation. Now, what we're going to do is that we're going to look at the true or false mapping done by Python, right? So because it's important to know this rule, and that's what we are going to start out with. Now, to do that, Python basically maps true to the value 1. So if I was to say true and use this, now we're going to understand this operator, because that is where we are at now. So you see this operator that is like a two equal signs, or two assignment operators. We're going to talk about that in a bit. So Python maps, so here is an equality operator, and the equality operator basically says whatever is on the left hand side is the same thing as the right hand side. It will evaluate as true if that's so. So if we do this, it tells you that that's true. But again, we're just looking at this. We're going to go to the part where we're going to evaluate each and every Boolean operation rule, so to speak, right? Or conditional statement rule. We're going to look at the body of rules that guide this. But for now, let's look at these Boolean operations. Secondly, Python maps false as 0. Again, the rule states for the equality operator, anything on the left should be equal to anything on the right. So any value on the left should be equal to the value on the right hand side. So if we run this, you see it's true. So Python maps 1 as true, maps 0 as false. So it's such an interesting rule. So again, once you need to do a comparison in terms of trying to confirm if something is basically true, you use the equality operator, and we're going to get to that. Now, the next thing we want to also talk about is Python's Boolean function. So we're going to document it like this. So that's the Boolean function, right? So let me add a few cells. Beautiful. Now, this function allows you to cast the true or false. Now, it allows you to cast true or false. So it's kind of like saying it allows you to make something, cast it to become a true or false stuff. You know how we use the list function? Exactly. So you can use that. So, for instance, we are going to also see certain things that how Python behaves, some kind of like a Python psychology. Right now, anything greater than 0 is casted as true. Right, so let's see. So let me document that. Okay, and say anything greater than, and by the way, greater than is also an operator we're going to be talking about. We have loads of operators to talk about. Greater than 0 should be casted as true, and we're going to see that. So over here we have bool. Look at that. There's a bool function, and then we put in something. See the way we're going to introduce Pablo, and I run it. You see that's true, right? Works. Anything that is greater than 0, so which means a string. See that? A string. So if I put in bool and I put in 0 inside, see that it's false, right? But if I make this a string, it's true, right? So you need to understand the concept of truth and false when dealing with Python, right? Non-numeric types will be true or will be mapped as true, while 0 will be mapped as false. We said that from the very beginning. Also, we want to know what can be mapped as false. Look at this. So we say bool, and inside here we have an empty list. It's mapped as false. Empty, anything that has nothing in it, false. We can also say, you can also see something like this. Look at that, it's an empty string. Sorry, false. So since the string is empty, it has no character in it, it will be casted as false, right? So again, that's why when you see I put Pablo over here, you see it's true, right? So that's what happens. Again, just to give you more context so I don't stretch it too much, just one last time, I promise. If I put an empty list and false, and inside the list I decide to add a number 12, true, right? So you now get to see that that's just what happens when you are dealing with the Python, the Boolean operation for Python. So this is where we're going to stop for now. In the next video, we're going to look at conditional statements, and with conditional statements, we're going to introduce a lot of stuff that makes it look pretty interesting, right? Recap: we looked at the Boolean operation here and how Python casts true or false, right? It's important for us to understand that rule going forward. Python casts 1, which is numbers, as true, 0 as false. Then there's the Boolean function, which is used to cast data types, so to speak, to know what they represent. And here again, we see the rule that the Boolean function, it gets to confirm what's true and what's false, right? You can see a string, non-numeric data type, which is a string like this, is true. String is true, but anything empty is false, right? Just to make it put it in context, if I put bool here with a 0, it is what? It is false, right? So again, like I'll always say, watch the video over and over again. Take your time to understand that we are building rules. These rules are going to help us to write, very smart code in order to like solve real world problems. Watch this video over and over again. Like, share it to friends and families, even enemies, right? And then, click on the subscribe button so that when I add new videos to this channel or to this playlist, you get a notification.